Hello, everybody. This is Michael Graham with MGA Travel, and today is the day before Thanksgiving. It's November 25th, 2020, a notorious year, it seems. As many of you may know, I was one of the 53 passengers on the SeaDream 1 cruise earlier this month. And that cruise I was very excited about was the first Caribbean cruise to resume sailing since COVID really hit, and there was a stop sail in March of this year. SeaDream did a great job. And as you may remember from our last video, I was looking forward to seeing what post or during pandemic travel, in absence of a vaccine might look like. And it seemed that SeaDream had figured that out, because they had been on 20 consecutive cruises since July of 2020 without any COVID, no cases of COVID whatsoever, no issues. Most of those sailings were in Norway, and I will circle back and give some reasons why I think that helped that. But the next one was a 21-day crossing that started in Norway, went to Southampton, went to Madeira and the Azores, and then ultimately ended in Barbados on early November, which is when I got on board on November 7th, 2020. That we had high hopes was not only their proven track record of having no COVID, they have onboard protocols, no buffets. They are cleaning night and day. They have face recognition systems that you check into every day, and it takes your temperature. You have your pulse oxygen checked, all types of things. So they're checking for symptoms, but they also the testing. So for example, when we went to Barbados, we had to just to get entry into Barbados. Okay, they're doing very well managing the coronavirus, and so they have implemented for incoming travelers that you take a PCR COVID test, and that is the gold standard. It's the most invasive, I've learned after now 6 COVID tests in the month of November, but it's the most accurate. And so within 72 hours of arrival, you have to have from a known laboratory. Can't be a home test, can't be a rapid test, has to be the PCR test done by a laboratory. My wife and I had our tests the Wednesday before we were to arrive on November 7th, which is a Saturday in Barbados. And then on Friday, our results came in, they were negative. So we printed those out. That's a good start, right? Everybody on that plane to Barbados has been tested negative in the past 2 or 3 days for COVID-19. So that's a great start. When you arrive in the airport in Barbados, there's another whole health check where they're testing temperatures, they're asking questions, there's medical personnel on site, just observing. And then for private transfer from the airport directly to the ship. And then in the boarding area of the ship, there's ship staff and crew, and everybody's all masked up. And again, they take your temperature, they take your pulse, your oxygen level, and they take a rapid PCR Abbott ID testing machine that the ship owns and keeps on board, but brings off to the port side before you can get on. And so you have to wait 15-20 minutes for those results to come back, and then you've cleared your 3rd negative COVID test, and then you can board. Your luggage in the meantime is being sprayed down with these ionization guns that also have UV light. So when I was talking about this trip, there were actually several sets of clients that wanted to go. And in general, during this pandemic, of course, we can't see around the corner, but I've been discouraging travel 30, 60, even 90 days out, depending on what information we have at that time, depending on who's asking. We have business travelers that have to travel, but for leisure travelers, especially higher risk leisure travelers, we're saying, let's hold off. Or if they had something booked, we're saying, let's rebook you later in 2021 or even 2022. And, it's better to be safe than sorry. And we've had some recent really good news with some vaccines. And I'll talk more about those and what I think travel might look like with these vaccines as well. So, of the many clients that wanted to go on this cruise, I discouraged the vast majority of them. There was two couples in there that I know to be flexible travelers, risk tolerant, in good health, experienced travelers. We went over some of the negatives that could occur and reviewed our pandemic waiver. And so the six of us decided to embark upon this grand journey of COVID tests and hopefully to stay in a bubble, the same bubble that they've been enjoying on SeaDream since July of 2020. So let's talk about SeaDream in general for a minute. It's known for a small ship. It's a yacht style. I mean, most of the time you are outdoors. Almost all dinners, breakfast, and lunch are served outdoors on one of the 5 open air decks. The lounge, and there are indoor lounges and dining in case of inclement weather. But there was another reason that I liked SeaDream for this this test cruise, if you will, is so much of it is outside, and so much of it is excellent. They have really good food that it's prepared as you order. You always have a menu with choices, type of cuisine, hot cuisine. You always have a choice of a great cheeseburger, hamburger, or some sort of American cuisine if you want to have that instead. And all of it is excellent. They aren't just hamburgers, they're great hamburgers. And we were very impressed with the cuisine in general aboard. The service was, it's practically 1-to-1 on SeaDream, meaning one server per person. We were operating at a reduced capacity, yet another reason that we chose. So there was only 53 passengers on board SeaDream 1 for this cruise. It's a very inclusive cruise with including tips and most of your drinks and all of your meals. And so that makes it very nice, relaxing environment as well. Lots of protocols, including on board. They put a special UV light in your room for 30 minutes while you're at dinner every day to help disinfect the room. They're cleaning incessantly. All these protocols in place really make you feel comfortable. The shore excursions, which are not included, the two things that we did were participate in the water platform, which gives you all these toys, water toys, kayaks. I tried stand-up paddling, but I guess you'd call it more of a fall-off paddling experience for me. It's swimming, and they have all these water toys that are always included as well, part of the cost. But shore excursions are typically not. So my one and only shore excursion on this trip, the ship made a special effort to only go to deserted islands in the Grenadines. And we went to a little island called Petite Tabac. You can actually see this in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's where Captain Barbossa strands Johnny Depp, and he has a little hidden thing of rum. I couldn't find that on the island, but it's very small and beautiful, and it's great snorkeling. We brought our snorkel masks, our full face snorkel masks, and we had a great time. So exactly in the middle of the cruise, on the middle of day 3, right cruise, the captain did come on the speaker, and he said that there was a presumed positive case on board. That was the one thing no one wanted to hear, obviously. Now, one case may not seem like much when we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of cases every day in the United States, but cruise ships are closer quarters, and you have to be extra careful in that environment. I don't say that the cruise ship should be demonized or singled out. Let me back up a minute here. One of my concerns what if this bubble didn't work? So, but before I left, before the 6 of us left, I talked to SeaDream and I said, what are you going to do if there is a positive case on board? And they said, that's a great question, and we have an answer for you. We have prearranged with the Barbadian government that we will never be more than 150 miles away from Barbados, and they will accept us and bring in any positive passengers if that is to happen. And if it does happen, then we will pull anchor and we will head straight back to Barbados. They have a brand new facility purpose built for COVID, and they will bring in any positive cases and treat them. And that's what happened. This is a big kudos to SeaDream. There wasn't any waste of time. The captain got on the loudspeaker, like I said, around the middle of the day on Wednesday, and he told us about this case, and he said, we're going full steam ahead straight back to Barbados. We're 142 miles out. It took them about 8 or 9 hours, maybe 10 hours to get there. I think 14 knots is the maximum speed, that maximum safe speed of SeaDream 1. Then the captain said, everyone needs to go back to your rooms and you're going to be quarantined. Because they had prepared for this possibility, they prepared how they were going to do everything. So all of a sudden, the captain announced how it would work. There was letters put under our door, and he told us, basically, you're still going to have your 3 meals a day. We're going to slide a menu under there. You're going to tick off what you want. It's the same great options that would have been if you had been dining in the restaurant outdoors. And it's the same wonderful food. And indeed it was. You could pick up the phone and dial 9 and ask for anything you wanted, from one of their 500 movies and DVDs to a bottle of wine or a glass of wine or a martini, whatever you might have wanted to have at that time or with your dinner. So they had the folding type of tray stands that you might see in a restaurant for holding trays, and they would set that in front of your door, and then they would set a tray down that had your order on it, and everything that the chef had prepared was individually wrapped in saran wrap and carefully placed on there so nobody could be breathing on it or anything like that. Everybody's wearing masks, including us in quarantine when it was time to answer the door. So we had our masks ready. We'd open the door, but there's no person there. Basically what happened is the staff would set that tray there, knock on the door, and then they would back up out of the way, still having their mask on. I would collect the plates, the saran wrap plates and bowls and silverware and so on, and bring that into our table, into our cabin. And then we would shut the door. And we would have a wonderful meal, Kelly and I, and have cocktails or wine and play some cards or watch a movie. And so as far as quarantines go, I can't imagine that it could get much better than that. And part of it was having a plan, right? Now, so it was a 7-night cruise, and this was day 3, as you might remember. So late that evening, we arrived back into Barbados, and the Barbados Ministry of Health came on board. And we had been scheduled for our 3rd test that they test on board of all the passengers using the onboard equipment. And Barbados government wanted to, and they did do that, but and we tested negative. And then when we arrived Barbados the next morning, we remained in quarantine, but Barbados wanted to test all the passengers using a PCR test that's not rapid test. And so first they started with the known positive case. And so the presumptive positive, and was a family of 5, and they had all flown together to on the way to Barbados. They stopped in Miami the night before, and supposedly they went to a party, and then apparently the 5 of them were exposed. But when they had already taken their pre-arrival test 2 days before that, and then when they arrived in Barbados the next day, there had not been enough time for them to show positive on either type of test. So they went through those 2. But again, I'm not harping on that, because you could get someone that exposed a flaw, that you could get exposed, you could catch COVID in between those tests and it not show up until later, unfortunately. But that is a flaw. Going back to quarantine, this ship is all windows and portholes, so there isn't a guest cabin that doesn't have a view, and that makes a huge difference, to be able to look out and see the waters of Barbados, because we were there until Saturday. So we had spent 3.5 days in quarantine in our cabin, just docked in Barbados, waiting to see what would happen. After 3.5 days, even as fine as it was, we were ready to go. Now, did we fly home the next day? We did, because we didn't have a choice. The people that had tested negative were printed out a negative result from that day, and then we were put back in the shuttles on Saturday, the private, one couple per shuttle, and we had to stop at the edge of the port where the immigrations and customs. The driver had to take our passports, go in, show them our customs form, show them our negative PCR test, COVID results, and confirm that he was taking us directly to the airport. So I think that's a mistake probably by that government, but that's their policy, and we really didn't have any choice about it. We did the best we could. We masked up. We got on the plane. Fortunately, it was plenty of room and not sold out or anything like that. So that's what Kelly and I have been doing since. That was the 14th of November, and today is the 25th. So we are almost done with our 14 days of self-quarantine. Nobody, there was no authority that said we had to. We just took it upon ourselves to take a 14-day quarantine. And also we have taken tests. Kelly's just came back negative, and we're still waiting on mine to come back, but we'll presume negative. In any way, 14 days quarantine here, and we had the 3.5 days quarantine on the ship. Never have had any symptoms or anything like that. So we are taking the most responsible course of action possible and available to us. So I will be taking the vaccine. For those anti-vaxxers out there, I wish you'd reconsider, because the more people that take it, it really turns into an effective herd immunity. But I will say, I think to travel, you will have to have it. For example, I'm scheduled to go to Africa next July, 2021, and they require proof of yellow fever vaccination and proof of measles vaccination and malaria mitigation and things like that. So I really think you're going to see airlines and destinations and countries say, in addition to your passport, you're going to need to bring proof of COVID-19 vaccination. So I see that coming. So even if you're an anti-vaxxer, but you want to be a traveler, you're going to have to weigh your options. We continue to discourage travel, leisure travel, non-essential travel over the next 60 days as we're watching things, and hopefully an improvement will come. But right now it's a wave, so certainly isn't the time to travel. That 60 days is a moving target. That vaccine is going to play a huge factor in that. And as soon as it's safe to travel again, we will be. And we are booking for next year. It's just more of the soonest is April, and more like May and into summer and fall feel very comfortable booking those, and with peace of mind policies and things like that, there's really little harm in putting hope on the calendar. Have a little anticipatory happiness, right? And when there is a vaccine, I look forward to traveling on SeaDream again, because I've been on tons of cruises, 30 or 40 of them in all different types of brands and luxury levels. And I've been on smaller and bigger than SeaDream. And they did such a great job. And the number one thing it's the people, the servers and the crew and the staff on board were incredibly friendly and there to make sure you were having the best time possible. So better times are coming, and when they do, I will be back on SeaDream, and I hope it's not too long in the future, but it won't be this year. Here's a thought: just skip the holidays altogether, skip the presents, save up the money, and let's plan a group trip for your family next summer. And we'll have Christmas in July, something like that, Thanksgiving in June. And then guess what? You're going to give the gift of travel. And those type of shared experiences and memories and getting that time with your family are priceless. By the way, if you want to do a group, but you don't want that group leader responsibility, you can hire one of our agents to go with your group. They'll handle the logistics, the events, any headaches. They'll make sure your trip goes as smoothly as possible. Okay, so we're almost at the end. So if you're looking for ideas of travel for next year with your family or not, we have 2 USA trips I'll highlight. One is big news. Rocky Mountaineer, who is very popular luxury rail in Canada in the Rockies, is now also going to be in the United States. So they will have the Rockies to Red Rocks and several other itineraries. We have that information available for you. There's only going to be 40 departures in 2021 in the summer. And what a great way to see the Western United States on a luxury train with meals and tour guides. And excuse me, our other USA trip is Talc Canyonlands, which is in June 2021. That's also on our website, or just call me for more information. I'll let you know about both of those USA options. They're great. And the Talc trip, we have several people signed up for it already, so you'll be going in good company. Now, if you want to go abroad in 2021, there's 2 trips you could go, and you would be going hosted and managed by myself and my wife, Kelly. We look forward to being your hosts as we see, number 1, African Safari in July 2021. And in November 2021, we are going to Egypt and Jordan on land and by river cruise. So if either of those trips sounds interesting to you, reach out to me, michael@mgatravel.com. You can reply, email, or call our office, 843-279-0310. If you're not going to travel in 2021, our Winter Heart trip has now been moved to February 2022. So ask me about that. That's a cruise with Princess, and it'll be in February 2022. Okay, so last thing I want to leave you with is our events, live stream, and podcast. We have them regularly, but you do have to sign up in advance, and those are found on our website quite easily. You can go to mgatravel.com, look at the About Us on the menu at the top, and then select Events and Live Streams. On that page, you'll see all of our upcoming events, live stream, and podcasts, and there'll be a link to sign up, and I recommend you sign up as soon as you know you want to attend, and then you'll get a registration email with a link, and later on a reminder with a link to sign up for the actual day of that live virtual webinar or podcast. Now, if you don't want to have to remember all of those directions to get there, we've made it easy. We've made a special URL called www.cruisedemo.com. In any case, I'm glad to share my experience with you. Or if you have further questions, just reach out to me. But most of all, I want to tell you happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful to be back here, to be healthy, safe with my family and loved ones, and that I have so many loyal clients and friends. And I'm very thankful this Thanksgiving. I hope you are too. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a great weekend, and happy holidays beyond that. And Meantime, until that vaccine shows up, mask up, wash your hands, stay safe, stay healthy. See you real soon. That's Michael Graham at MGA Travel.